Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a gentleman who is certainly no stranger to us and has been around before, and no stranger certainly to construction in the United States, and that's Ron DeFeo of Terex.
Thanks, Roger.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Show good for you?
What a fabulous place to exhibit a fabulous industry.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
What is the state of the industry today? What's your perspective on it?
Well, you know, I've been in this business quite a few years. I've been CEO at Terex over 20 years, and I've watched this industry change, and I think the industry is healthy. I think the commitment of the manufacturing base to this industry is very solid, but I think the underlying demand is still not returned to the pre-crisis levels. I think the U.S. is probably the best market relative to many in the world, but we're seeing some opportunities around the world as well, and we are very hopeful that the European markets will improve in 2014 over 2013.
Do you think the American psychology is still a bit stagnant when it comes to really wanting to open the pocketbook?
Well, I think non-residential construction is still pretty slow in this country.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a combination of things. First, the housing recovery. The housing recovery has to get deeper and broader. If that happens, and it is happening, we'll see non-residential construction being impacted. We also need to see some leadership from the government in the area of our highway bill. You know, will we really have financial commitment? There's a lot of desire. You'll hear a lot of rhetoric about what needs to happen, but very little specificity about what should happen and how to get it funded.
And when to get it funded.
Of course.
I mean, everybody wants to push things back, but this is an immediate thing because we are in a deteriorating mood here.
I'm just worried. Yeah, we are.
Are you really? Yeah.
I'm worried that my generation becomes the pothole repair generation.
Exactly.
You know, and I don't think that works.
I don't think that's healthy for this as a nation. I think, you know, a few more bridges may be collapsing. God forbid that should happen. But it might just wake up the powers that be in Washington, which is something we absolutely have to have. That's my feeling.
Well, Roger, you're right there. I've worked on this topic for many years. I've been to Washington many times, visited with our leadership in Washington, and I must say, talking to everyone individually, you certainly get the sense that it's understood.
Right.
But when you put together the collective wisdom, there's not enough leadership to broker a consensus view as to how to fund our infrastructure. And what I really boil it down to is there's a lack of vision about what the country should look like in 2050. If we had that sense about what America 2050 is going to be, where the economic zones were going to be,
exactly.
We know what the demographics are. Those kids are already born.
Right.
So we need to be thinking about, you know, what the country should be facilitated for. You know, how our ports should be structured, how we want to help promote export for this country. And instead, we end up in a conversation about, do we have enough money for a 10-cent gasoline tax, okay? And we look for political wins to make today's headlines as opposed to the kind of change that's going to make tomorrow's country better.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you taking the time, stop by, visit.
My pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Ron.